It's August 12, 1973. Bobby Isaac's racing at a speed of 170 miles per hour, and his friend Larry Smith has already died in a wreck during that same race. But what happens next has got to be NASCAR's creepiest moment. There's something a lot of people don't know about the Alabama International Motor Speedway, or NASCAR's biggest and baddest track, if you will. It's the fact that it's located on a Native American burial ground. And as local legend goes, the area around East Boca was cursed for all time when President Andrew Jackson made 3 long-established tribes move to Oklahoma through the tragic Trail of Tears. In 1831, as the Creek tribe was leaving their ancestral land, one of their shaman looked back and cursed the land known as Dry Valley. Since then, there have been moments when the world of motorsports believed Talladega was indeed cursed. At least Bobby Isaac would agree, but only if he was still alive. The 500-mile race that took place in the spring of 1973 marks the Speedway's creepiest moment. There were 56,000 fans watching in the stands. Meanwhile, 50 drivers were prepared to compete on the track for a grueling 500 miles. But amidst all the excitement, there was also an underlying sense of fear and danger. Only 3 months prior, at the same racetrack, there were accidents that resulted in drivers getting seriously hurt. One of these accidents ended the career of Wendell Scott, so understandably, many drivers were becoming more anxious. Shortly after 50 cars took the green, the race had to be paused 7 times due to various incidents. Regrettably, the track's reputation for being dangerous showed itself once again, and this time, things were even worse. Former Rookie of the Year Larry Smith died of head injuries when he hit the Turn 1 wall in what looked to be a relatively minor single-car accident. Later in the same race, Bobby Isaac, a former Cup Series champion and a friend of Smith's, informed his team owner, Bud Moore, that he wanted a backup driver to be prepared. He then entered the pit area, got out of the car, and walked away to make a call home. Bobby's wife, Patsy, remembered him telling her that a voice had told him to get out of the car and retire immediately, or something terrible would happen to him. Now, this alone is already pretty creepy. But what makes this story even more strange is that he heard this voice while he was going at a speed of 170 miles per hour. This sets his story apart from almost any other retirement story that NASCAR has witnessed in the nearly 50 years since then. This event marked the end of what had been an impressive racing career. Isaac had started his journey in the Grand National Series in 1961. In 1969, he won 17 out of 54 races, but he ended up in 6th place on the season points list. The next year, he achieved even greater success by winning 11 more races and earning the points championship. However, things took a turn after that. Chrysler reduced its support for racing, focusing more on petty enterprises, which left Isaac's team with less funding. By the time of his sudden retirement in 1973, Isaac hadn't won any races that year, although he did come back to racing in 1974 and competed 19 more times over 3 seasons. He never managed to win again. Whatever had shaken Isaac on that day in 1973 didn't stop him from racing at Talladega one more time the following year. He finished 8th in that race, which was won by Richard Petty. Now, there's a good chance you still don't believe there's something actually wrong with Talladega Speedway. So here are a few other creepy incidents that unfolded at that very same track. In 1975, tragedy struck as Randy Owens, Richard Petty's brother-in-law, lost his life when a pressurized water bottle exploded in the pits, leading Petty to withdraw from the race. In 1977, another heartbreaking incident occurred when the mother of driver David Sisko lost her life, struck by the protruding mirror of a passing pickup truck while walking in the Talladega Speedway infield. Although both were unfortunate accidents that could have happened at any NASCAR track, they oddly took place at Talladega Speedway. In 1993, the racing community mourned the loss of Davey Allison, a local favorite, who sustained fatal injuries when the helicopter he was piloting crashed into the Talladega Speedway infield during a testing day, not even on a race weekend. Then in 1997, yet another shocking incident unfolded as Bob Loga, the president of ARCA, succumbed to injuries sustained in a bizarre car wreck outside the Speedway grounds at Talladega. That eerie sequence of events only deepens the mystery surrounding the haunted history of the Speedway, and interestingly, the voice that Bobby Isaac thought he heard in 1973 might have been some kind of forewarning. On August 13, 1977, Isaac abruptly stopped racing during a late model sportsman race at Hickory Motor Speedway in North Carolina. He collapsed as he was getting out of the car. Sadly, he passed away at the age of 45 after suffering a heart attack early the next morning. What's interesting is that Isaac seemed to have a hunch years before that this might happen to him. According to driver David Pearson, he had asked Dr. Jerry Punch questions like, "What does it feel like if you're about to have a heart attack?" This shows that he had a sense that something was off with his health. Almost 4 years after hearing that mysterious voice, Isaac's tragic end unfolded. The only way his unfortunate fate could have been even more unsettling is if it had happened at Talladega. But there was still a strange coincidence that's hard to overlook. Although he died 4 years later, it was still pretty much the same day as when he heard those voices. Got a NASCAR story creepier than this? Drop it in the comments below, and make sure to watch the next video that'll pop up on your screen. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to stay in the loop with all things NASCAR.